I'd like to welcome you all to the TOPS FSN Network Knowledge Sharing Meeting, Successes, Challenges, and the Way Forward, 7 Years of Community Building. My name is Sheila Jackson, Senior Knowledge Management Specialist for the TOPS program. I see a lot of familiar faces here, which is gratifying, as this is our 10th Knowledge Sharing Meeting. And we also see some new faces, which is good. Everybody is welcome. I'd like to formally welcome you all to our meeting. So over the next 2 days, we come together as a community to learn from each other and to also share the latest knowledge and practices around food security and nutrition programming. But as this is our 10th and final TOPS Knowledge Sharing Meeting, don't cry, it's okay, we're going to do this together. We're going to be looking back over the past 7 years and seeing how TOPS and our community of practice, the Food Security and Nutrition Network, which is all of you, how we have come together and improved food security and nutrition programming through knowledge exchange, building relationships, and capacity strengthening. So very exciting. But right now, it is my privilege to introduce someone who has been from TOPS from the beginning, our director, Mark Fritzler.
Thank you, Sheila, and welcome. You took most of my words, so I probably don't need to actually give a speech at all, but I do want to echo what Sheila said and welcome you all to this celebration that we're experiencing here. We're celebrating 7 years of the TOPS experience. It's been a long and fun ride, I have to say. One reason that I've enjoyed this so much, and the time seems to fly by, because how much I've enjoyed it, and there's been quite a few compatriots who carried along with us from the beginning. There are people here that I recognize that were all part of some of them were part of the very first one we had, the very first knowledge sharing meeting we had, which was a tag appended to the core group's spring meeting in May of 2011 in Baltimore. So everybody trekked up to Baltimore for a day-long session, and that was Dina Esposito's first opportunity to do a keynote for TOPS program, and it's just grown from then since. And one of the things that we'd like to do is celebrate where we started, where we've come from, but also in keeping with what we have these meetings for in the first place, we want to make sure that you're continuing to be on the leading edge of learning from one another, new ideas, new thoughts, new ways of doing things, new practices that you can take to your programs or to distribute to your programs or follow up with us to help you do that through some of our capacity strengthening activities and so on. And I just wanted to mention that not only are we going to do some review and reflection, but we're here to celebrate and not embalm the past. We're not putting it in amber. What we're doing is keeping, I think, an activity, a practice, a way of doing things together alive. And in many ways, I think having moved together both the TOPS team, which is made up of partners of our consortium, that's Save the Children as the Prime, Mercy Corps, the Core Group, Food for the Hungry, and the Tango International working together, but working with all the rest of you, all the major players in implementing, as well as, and particularly important to me from the beginning, was the role that we've managed to forge with our donor and with our donors staff at the field level and at the headquarters level. I'm pleased to see that Scott McNiven, for example, is here, who's currently with the USAID office in Addis Ababa. He was at our first international event in Maputo in September of 2011, highly skeptical of this kind of activity. That we all have been to conferences and talking shops. And at the end, he had one of the people who stood up and commented that he thought this was an extremely valuable exercise of being able to share knowledge and learn from one another. So I'm glad to see Scott's here. And also there are a number of folks who have been with us, and one I'd like to call out in particular is our original activity manager, who has been with us from the very beginning and has been a guiding light and a source of endless suggestions, ideas, and brilliance. Judy Kanawati is also, who's recently retired from Alpha Food for Peace, but she's also with us here.
Getting coffee.
I think she's getting coffee, so she's on her way in.
There she is.
There she is. That's Judy. So anyway. So Judy has kindly kindly agreed to join us. We asked her how retirement was. She says, wonderful. So we're glad to see that she's able to come and be part of the exercise here. And please introduce yourself if you haven't met her and talk to her. She has a fountain of history as well as knowledge, and she's up to date with the kinds of things we're trying to lead. But finally, what I'd like to say is that another reason for having these gatherings, and one that we can kind of point to with pride, is that the process that we've all been engaged in, the TOPS team and consortium, as well as all of you, and your colleagues, those who either had come before you or are not here today or whatever, having engaged in a dialogue, I think that's really had some interesting long-term and lasting effects. We've seen that the TOPS process, the participation in TOPS has allowed your voices to be heard and to contribute substantially to some of the initiatives that are being carried forward institutionally and in policy. Things like the refine and implement model in the development assistance, about M&E, how that's improved and how we're really looking much more thoroughly at how we use evidence, and Food for Peace is taking a real lead on that. It didn't hurt that the lead M&E person at Food for Peace used to start out with TOPS, but we're a school for learning, and we're glad to see that. Also, the greater strength and focus on learning agendas, on learning and knowledge management that Joan Whalen is spearheading with Food for Peace, who also started out with us with TOPS and carried it forward to newer heights, and then we're all engaged in it at this point as well, and moving forward. So anyway, we're glad that Joan has gone on to that. But also other participation in things like the resilience dialogue. We're now seeing that resilience is becoming increasingly a much more understood concept. And I was interested to see that in today's Washington Post, there's an article here about the drought in the Somali region of Ethiopia. And in it, it refers to the PRIME project, USAID's PRIME project, that's looking at diversifying livelihoods for the pastoralists who are affected so much by this drought. And diversifying livelihoods is one of the concepts of resilience. And we also know that also the PRIME project is being monitored according to some newly defined resilience indicators and analyzed along that basis that have been worked out not only with some of the dialogue that was sort of initiated and assisted by the TOP process, by our partners, by the Bureau of Food Security, by the Center for Resilience, Food for Peace, and so on, and the mission itself. So we're seeing the kinds of effects that sometimes can ripple through just bringing people together to spend time talking in an exercise like the events and activities that TOPS helps generate. We're seeing much greater awareness of gender sensitivity and gender transformational roles within programming and design. Is being integrated throughout all the programming and is being looked for. Nutritional practices have improved. People are learning more about, that is the mothers themselves are learning more about appropriate and proper nutrition for their children, breastfeeding, complementary foods, ways to nutrition for sick or women who are stressed in stress environments and babies as well, and so on. So we've actually talked quite a lot about these things, and we've shared this knowledge amongst ourselves, and we're helping to spread it out. It's definitely a collaborative activity. No one is taking credit for being the leader in any of this. We're all helping each other do a better job. So anyway, enjoy yourself. We'll be celebrating some of the things that you and all of us have participated in the past over the last 7 years. But we're going to continue to learn. That's what we have these exercises for, and what we have these current sessions and the technical information we're providing you through these exercises today. So keep on trucking, keep doing the TOPS kind of activity. We hope to see that similar activities continue in the future. We're quite sure that they will. And welcome and have a good time. Have fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. So now it is my honor to introduce Matt Nims, Acting Director of USAID's Office of Food for Peace, as our keynote speaker. Matt has had a distinguished career in international development and emergency programming. He has worked for USAID in a variety of capacities, ranging from HIV prevention to emergency food assistance in countries as diverse as Indonesia, Guyana, and Afghanistan. I want to share my first interaction with Matt was actually at a TOPS hosted consultation. We were looking at, Food for Peace was looking at how to change their RFA process. And so Matt, Julie Majernik, who some of you may know, and also the former director of Food for Peace, Dean Esposito, were all speakers at the consultations. And this was great, and Dina was really getting into it. She was really engaged. She was asking a lot of questions of the participants. She's feverishly taking notes. It was wonderful, except for the fact that right after this consultation, Matt, Dina, and the rest of the Food for Peace staff had to be in Crystal City for another meeting. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of what traveling is like in DC, during the best of times, it is hard to get anywhere on time. Add to that, we frequently have accidents, road closures, and construction, and you're almost guaranteed to always be late. So you always need to cushion in a bunch of time. Well, so to kind of help this, Matt went to go hail a cab, and he started signaling Dina, you know, we need to wrap this up. And Dina's still talking, and she's still taking notes. And so finally, Matt, and all I can describe as a bit of desperation, I see him in the hallway going like this. And so finally, Dina wrapped up the consultation, and I'm hoping they got to Crystal City on time. Now, one of the things very exciting, Matt is going to be taking your questions. And so, but please, please, please just wait. We have microphone runners. Wait till the microphone gets to you. We are live streaming this event and also videotaping it. And we want to make sure that everybody hears both in the room and online. And for those of you online, if you want to go ahead and type a question into the chat box, we'll make sure we read that out and Matt answers that as well. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Matt Mims.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Eli. Very much appreciated. Thanks to the TOPS crew, for this. Number 10, wow, I definitely just that story that waving my hand. I think I'm still doing that in the background. But those were really great heady days, and I think that we have really well positioned ourselves to continue. And I want to talk a little bit about that. On the questions, I'm going to go through the speech and talk about how great we all are and wonderful. But I do want to say, please ask questions. I love the informality. People who kind of know me know that I definitely default towards an informality. There might be certain things that I just might not be able to answer, or I don't know the answer, or I'm not allowed to give the answer. So I trust that you understand that, and I'm not trying to be evasive or coy. It's just that is the way it is. The way it's always been, but it's probably more so now than ever. So I beg your understanding on that as we go forward. With that, I'm going to say, just start off here. On behalf of all of Food for Peace, and there's a lot of our crew here in the audience, just a sincere thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come or being part of this, but also really thank you up front for all the efforts that TOPS really means and encapsulates for this great run. And I'm sure that we will be continuing this in the future. So, food security, I think, is now more important than ever. This year we are seeing historic levels of need throughout the world. This does not come as a surprise, I think, to anybody focused on food security, but it still is worth saying and focusing on, especially now. The Family Early Warning Systems Network, or FuseNet, as we're all aware of, predicts that in 2017 we will see an unprecedented 81 million people across 45 countries in need of emergency food security. Largely, I would say almost exclusively, due to man-made conflict, severe drought, and economic instability. Famine, the F word, is a word we do not use lightly, has been looming over 2017. South Sudan experienced famine. Earlier this year, 3 other countries, Somalia, Nigeria, and Yemen, faced the threat of famine, putting a combined 20 million people at risk of severe hunger or starvation this year. And unfortunately, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Severe food insecurity looms in many other countries of the world, including Ethiopia, Syria, Iraq, as well as I think 3 or 4 other countries we could probably talk about. Half of USAID's humanitarian funding this year will be allocated towards just 6 major emergencies, nearly all conflict-driven. This notable shift to conflict as the driver of humanitarian crises over the past decade, I think is quite remarkable. I think those of us in the humanitarian business here in this room can really have noticed that shift. 10 years ago, 80% of humanitarian resources were dedicated to natural disasters and 20% was for conflict. Today, those numbers are exactly reversed. This shift towards conflict-driven crises has resulted in the doubling the number of people in need of the humanitarian aid over this past decade, and more than 65 million people displaced as a result of conflict and persecution. You know, I think back in April, we had the Food Aid Consultative Group meeting, and that's where we bring us all together, and we bring industry, and we bring USDA and other farm groups, and we talked about, you know, forecasts of food in the world. And about 2 weeks after that, a team of us were in London for the the Food Assistance Convention, which I'm actually the chair of, and we actually bring about 15 other donor nations together, and we also talk about food security in general, but it's held at the International Grain Council in London, that's why we go. And we also had another top level, but pretty well detailed, informed discussion about food production worldwide. Both of these presentations basically said the same thing. We are moving into a time where we have unprecedented levels of food stocks that we are bringing from this year right now into next year, that we have seen production levels really unthought of maybe like a decade ago, just given so many challenges we thought we were going to have. But with the emergence of some of these large markets, with Brazil, efforts in other places, and the amount of food in the system is phenomenal. It's huge. There's a lot of food out there, was the basic message. And aren't you guys so happy because the prices are going to be good? You know, for us guys who still buy food in the U.S. And that was their theme, was like, aren't you all excited that food's going to be at a low price? And I said, and I remember, you know, I was looking at some of my colleagues, and I took a step back and I said, you know, it's just incredibly telling that we have, as a world, unsurpassed ability perhaps to produce food. Yet we have more people food insecure in the world than maybe, you know, definitely since World War II, but, you know, really maybe even since we've been watching this. So that's when I say, when you look at the conflict, you look at displacement, we are in unprecedented times. And I feel that forums like this are just become so crucial. So there has never been a more challenging time to be in the business of helping to alleviate hunger in the world. But together, I think, we are raising to that challenge. Food for Peace is the largest food assistance donor in the world, and the largest in-kind food aid donor, and the largest donor of market-based assistance like cash transfers and food vouchers. So I want to repeat that. We are still the biggest in-kind food donor. I would probably say we are still probably the only in-kind donor out there in the world. There's a couple little smaller groups that do that, but in reality speaking, we really are that. There was a time maybe we wouldn't want to acknowledge that, but I actually still think that that is important, and that is a part of who we are. That's a part of what Food for Peace is. In 2016, or in fiscal year 2016, Food for Peace received $2.4 billion. So this is a combination of both Title II in-kind resources, as well as the International Disaster Assistance Account, the IDA account, which allowed Food for Peace to provide food assistance through the work of many of you all in this room to more than 60 million people in 56 countries. This year, for 2017, we're going to do even more. More money, we're going to reach more people. In FY 2017, this year, Congress appropriated $1.9 billion in Title II and $4.127 billion in IDA funds, which we also share with our sister office, with OFDA, with the Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance. This also included the $990 million that people talk about for the famine prevention and mitigation and relief. The administration was the anti-famine. I trust you, we had nothing to do with that nomenclature, anti-famine, but that was out there. Once again, I think the American people have demonstrated their compassion and willingness to deliver life-saving aid in response to the unprecedented level of need that we're seeing in the world. Saving lives threatened by severe hunger and starvation is not only the right thing to do, but it is also critical to our national security. For some of you, there was a hearing yesterday, and another panel member of mine was a governor. I still call him Governor David Beasley, but he's actually the new executive director of the World Food Program, and we're kind of stealing some of his notes here because he gave a pretty impassioned delivery yesterday, so I'm giving him the credit for what I'm going into right now. So where hunger and poverty persist, instability and resentment grow. Hunger, as we know, can lead to unrest and migration. The World Food Program estimates that for every percentage increase in food insecurity, the number of people fleeing the country increases by nearly 2%. By addressing the problem at the source, tackling the root causes of hunger through our development programs, Food for Peace is working to prevent and mitigate the impact of conflict and political instability. So as I said, less than 24 hours ago, I testified before the subcommittee of the Senate Foreign Relations on the state of the 4 countries facing famine. With me was Governor David Beasley, Executive Director of Beasley, UNICEF, the Red Cross, Mercy Corps. They brought Dr. Mahala from South Sudan. Actually, they brought their country director. Just great. Refugees International was also there. About the same time, our colleague, or my colleague, Beth Dunford of USAID's Bureau of Food Security, was also testifying on a subcommittee of the House Foreign Affairs Committee on implementation and how it's going on the Global Food Security Act. They are as nervous as a lot of other people about what their future security is. And the spotlight on food security, I think really continues to draw attention, apply to the world's most vulnerable, but also I think shows you the level of attention that it really is garnering on all of these high levels. Food for Peace has attained a level of influence and impact that it hasn't really seen before. Having been somebody who's been around Food for Peace and even food security for a while, I'm struck and awed and, incredibly challenged by the fact that actually the Food for Peace director, whoever that might be, is actually asked by name to go to Congress to talk about what's happening. I mean, the now close to 16 years that I have been working in this business, that really hasn't happened to the degree that we see it happening. Again, I think to a lot of the efforts of people in this room. We increasingly are qualified to testify before Congress. We have a seat at the table alongside others in humanitarian architecture, and when we speak, our voice is heard. Part of this clout comes from our subject matter expertise in food security when needs are so great. But also, really, it's from the strong performance of Food for Peace and its partners in doing what we do, in delivering both emergency and development food assistance for more than 60 years. So you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do, what you plan to do. Fortunately, we've got a proven track record that Food for Peace and its partners are adaptable, analytical, and strategic in the fight to end hunger. Our adaptability takes many forms in both emergency and development programs. Food for Peace has increased flexibility to choose the most appropriate way to get food to those who need it. Whether it's food grown in the U.S., food grown closer to the country we're working in, or market-based assistance like vouchers and CASHs, which we're all familiar with. Increasingly, though, I would say, really Food for Peace, and by working with our partners, are really blending the approach in any given situation. Combining in-kind with market to respond to a crisis. So this is placing higher and higher expectations on Food for Peace, and really more importantly on you, on our partners, to be able to assess the local environment, what's going on, understand what's happening, and to really help us choose the correct response options. The reality is that needs change from year to year, and even month to month, making flexibility to respond even more important. When disaster takes place in the country where we have a development program, Food for Peace partners are able to react rapidly and pivot or scale up to respond to this new reality or to this new environment. In 2016, for example, El Nino greatly exacerbated conditions in southern Africa, creating the worst droughts in the region in 35 years. Food for Peace did not have an emergency program in operation in Madagascar, but as we know, Food for Peace did have 2 development programs with ADRA and with Catholic Relief Services. The 2 programs expanded, temporarily expanded. We infused resources in, enabling them to provide crucial emergency food assistance to more than 100,000 people in these drought-affected areas. This adaptability is possible because Food for Peace, and of course all of our partners, use their superior technical analysis to recognize when change is needed. Over the past year, we have adapted our own technical teams. I would say over the past few years, we've expanded, we've developed, we've created a technical team to be able to conduct more analysis in-house, including poaching people from TOPS, as we said earlier. And that will continue, just putting that out there. We've recently begun a review of our market-based emergency food programs to look at how they've evolved since 2010. Assess program design and implementation processes, analyze program cost efficiency trends, and measure the effects of the projects on the local economies and the markets in which they operate. For the past, I would say 6 years, maybe, give or take, we have been working to improve data collection and evidence-based learning. Similar, I think, to what we're all here talking about. In 2012, we began independent population-based surveys for all new development programs to ensure consistency of approach, comparability, and quality of data. Probably around the time when I read these. Those baselines and inline surveys help refine project design, establish realistic yet ambitious targets, and better judge our program's effect on chronic malnutrition, poverty, food security. The first round of development programs with both an independent baseline and final evaluation ended in 2016. The results of which will be shared later this year. A lot of that can be said that environment when former director Raj Shah was part of this, and all of this focus on, I think, evidence-based learning, but also being able to tell our story. I think Dina saw that. Former director Dina Esposito saw that, and I think really challenged us to be able to do that, to tell our story in a better way. And I think our partners have really stepped up to that challenge. And I think we're going to reap the benefits of this. And an example which I shouldn't throw out there, but I will, because I have tremendous respect for our USDA colleagues. But I think Food for Peace has been able to tell our story on the development side. And when you look at the budget that came through, where they're zeroing out a whole program in USDA, not to save money, but because it hasn't demonstrated its ability to have impact. I disagree. I think that it has had impact, but what they're countering, what the administration is saying, that we haven't been able to tell that story. I think that could have easily happened to Food for Peace a decade ago. But for efforts like this, it did not. And again, this is not a cut against USDA, but it definitely shows the importance of being able to prove what we do, to demonstrably tell the story of the impact that we've had. The ability to evaluate results will not only help improve future programs, but will demonstrate the impact and effectiveness. We know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And a recent comparison of two communities in Malawi during the 2016 El Niño drought proved that adage true. The first community required emergency assistance to meet the urgent needs, costing about an average of $390 per household for that year. However, that community now, lacks key infrastructure and resilience measure, and it was just a temporary fix, and we know how that is with emergency programs. And if this were to happen again, most likely that community would probably require additional emergency assistance. In contrast, in a neighboring community where we've been working with the development programs, that community for the past 5 years, and the cost of that was probably over that 5 years about $376 per household. In that community, during the 2016 drought, they required no emergency assistance. This is just one example. We consistently find that our development programs offer communities the resources they need to build resilience and fight food insecurity well into the future. That being said, our analysis does not happen in a vacuum, and it is not the sole responsibility of Food for Peace. Thanks to the wealth of resources at TOPS, we are able to grow the capacity of both our staff and our partners through its focus on technical excellence of the resources and approaches made available through the FSN network. The technical capacity strengthening activities and knowledge sharing meetings. Food for Peace applies these insights gained through analysis, learning what went well and what did not to improve future programming. We are expanding our program design and learning teams. In fact, you'll hear more about this tomorrow when Joan comes during the plenary session on Food for Peace's learning agenda. We have also sought to build partners' performance, program design capacity through TOPS theory of change work, which has the potential to improve our programs enormously. TOPS workshops are creating a deeper understanding of the topic throughout the food security and nutrition community. How it should be developed and how it could be applied to reach better results in the form of food secure families and households. Beyond individual programs and drawing on the analysis and input of hundreds of people, including many of you, Food for Peace launched its 10-year strategy in October 2016. Building on our previous strategy from 2006 to 2010, took us a while to get a new strategy. This one focuses more deeply on strengthening systems and institutions to sustain success, elevating governance, social cohesion, and conflict sensitivity. It places central emphasis on understanding local context and adapting to changing circumstances to remain relevant and effective. It renews our long commitment to gender equality and acknowledges the importance of engaging youth to advance sustained food and nutrition security. The new strategy captures the best of what we currently do, but challenges Food for Peace and all of you, our partners, to strive for greater impact with greater efficiency and sustainability. It maintains the vision of the last Food for Peace plan, of our last vision, a world free from hunger and poverty, where people live in dignity, peace, and security, but broadens that goal of reducing food insecurity to one that envisions not only improving food security, but sustaining it. It also embraces nutrition security, deliberately signaling the importance of a wide range of nutrition, sanitation, and health factors that, combined with the stable availability and access to nutritious food, really contribute to that overall food security improved outcome. These ideas are also reflected in the larger U.S. government global food security strategy and in Food for the Future, which, as we know, combines the efforts of 11 U.S. government agencies and departments. I think it's always important in these forums that we talk about, especially now more than ever, the GFSS, the GFSA, and make sure that they have the support that they need, because they are integral as we go forward in maintaining food security. Improved performance also happens when we listen and learn from both local communities where we work and learn from each other. In 2016, Food for Peace introduced a new pilot approach for multi-year development food security awards in places like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which we call Refine and Implement. This approach, which we're still working on, but it took a while to get there, considers the priorities of the community, operating environment, contextual factors, and the capacity of local institutions and service providers. Using this model, Food for Peace, and when I say Food for Peace, I really mean our partners here, are going to listen to the local voices so that the activities better reflect the operating environment, improving impact and effectiveness. When we first thought about this quite some time ago, it was always how do we gain or how do we make the flexibility available to our partners to do what they can do best. We are still working towards doing that, but I do think that this is really the future of development, food security, and really a lot of development in general, quite frankly, but that's my own soapbox opinion. We also listen to you, our partners. Through TOPS, we seek input through consultations, surveys, task force dialogue, and meetings. We adapt based on guidance from our community and our partners. The new 10-year Food for Peace strategy is a good example of that collaboration. It was developed in partnership with many stakeholders and is the culmination of a year-long consultative process which engaged hundreds of colleagues both here in Washington and abroad. When we first decided, hey, let's take on a new strategy, we need one, we're a little late. I remember one of the first meetings was, we just have to tinker on the edges. We'll just change a little bit, we'll just change the date, and somewhere along the line, I think with Joan and other people saying that's not the approach we want to take. There's a lot of changes that have gone on, and we're going to do this in a much more consultative process. And I think that has paid incredible dividends. It has set us as a community, as an office, even partly as an agency in the right direction. And I really think that, again, I will give Tina full credit on that. It was the right decision, the right move at the right time. And I think it'll stead us well going now and probably beyond that strategy, since it seems to take us 4 or 5 years before we actually write a new one anyway. But I think we're well stead there. Likewise, TOPS is listening and adapting to the changing needs and priorities of implementers in the field, including Food for Peace. To support partners' needs, TOPS has added expertise in gender and youth to its portfolio and organizes stakeholder consultations on a range of issues relevant to both the implementing community and for Food for Peace. As we know, there is more work to be done. While Food for Peace and its partners, as part of the humanitarian system, have never reached more people in so many places so effectively, unfortunately, it is becoming increasingly clear that we can't keep pace with the scale and complexity of humanitarian need. They are simply growing too quickly. As I said earlier, this year, 81 million people will need emergency food assistance. This is 20% higher than last year. This is 70% higher than just 2 years ago. There are nearly 800 million hungry people in the world, and by 2050, there will be more than 9 billion mouths to feed on the planet. These numbers are staggering, but together we will take on this challenge. Over the last 7 years, TOPS has helped Food for Peace be more innovative and effective with its development assistance program. Thank you for that. Together, we've made great strides in commodity management, nutrition, and gender, to name a few. But with Food for Peace's growing focus on emergency, which will comprise more than about 80% of our budget this year, it is probably right to think that we will need to include a greater emergency component in TOPS work in the future. These are uncertain times, but one thing is certain. The world needs our help. It's amazing that somebody like myself could actually say a statement like that. The world needs our help. But I think that I can honestly say that I feel that we actually can help the world. And that's the great thing about what all of us do in this room, that we can actually help the world. Holy crap. We can help the world. That's pretty cool. We must continue to commit ourselves to learning, both from ourselves and from each other, and strengthen the value of this forum and forums like this. Our cooperation and shared commitment will be crucial as we look towards the future. So again, on behalf of my office, or the office of Food for Peace, I really am reluctant to call it my office. I don't like that connotation at all, quite frankly. It's the office of Food for Peace that I am very honored to represent. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your efforts. We're here together, and a lot of it is because of your efforts. So thank you for your efforts, thank you for coming, and thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and your attention.